I'm Nicki Minaj, and this is
Authenticity Radio.
Authenticity Radio with Slade Suter.
Let's go to the beach, eat, let's go get a wave. They say what they gonna say. Have a drink, clink, found a Bud Light. Bad like me, it's hard to come by. The Patron, let's go get it down. The sound, yes, I'm in the zone. Is it 2, 3? Leave a good tip. I'ma blow all my money and don't get I'm on the floor.
And now, your host, who has the hospitality of a fat and jolly innkeeper, Slade Suter.
Laughed at me, wanting you. Said I was reaching for the moon.
Good morning and welcome to the morning edition. This is Slade Suter.
And now they'll have to change.
Professor Debra-Bowman is my guest today, all the way from Colorado, Naropa University. Now, Deborah has been a psychotherapist for over 27 years. She's a speaker, writer, and author, and her latest book is The Female Buddha. And Deborah, I am so honored to welcome you to Authenticity Radio.
Oh, thank you. It's a great honor for me to talk to you this morning as well.
And as we begin, there are so many directions I would just love to go today. I learned about you as you were giving an address to your students in Naropa University, the graduating students, and I believe the talk was, "There is no place on earth that is not a wisdom hall." And it was based on climbing accident that you had that changed and impacted the rest of your life. Perhaps we can start right there.
Okay. So, I'll just give a little brief story around that climbing fall. I was 27 years old and, pretty young and foolish and trying to help somebody who had climbed above me and called down for the rope. And I just responded out of sort of what I should do, thinking I've got to help this person. So I started to climb up to bring them the rope, but I didn't have all the skills to do that. So I fell. I fell about 200, maybe 250 feet, and almost died, and was lucky to have injuries that I can cope with. I sort of mangled my ankle, and I lost my eye, and it was one of the biggest wake-up calls in my life.
Oh, dear. Yeah. So, it's been sort of a lifetime of lessons for me around how to balance being there for others and also how to care for myself in a way that's life-sustaining. I also gave a talk recently, a TEDx talk in Boulder about the same topic, and but emphasized a little bit more about the wake-up part of that experience, because it was learning about having compassion not only for others but for myself and understanding that balance. And so when you were asked to bring up the rope,
yes,
you
somebody yelled down, from about 200 feet, yes,
and you say, "Oh, sure, here I come."
Right. Not really taking in. I'd had some experience in ice climbing, but not at what we call the sharp end of the rope, which is where you're leading. So when you fall, you can fall a long way. I was used to being at the other end of the rope where somebody has already led up, placed protection, and you're kind of safe. You're on the safe end of the rope where, if you fall, you're not going to hurt yourself. So, it was my proclivity as, a female born in my generation, that I'm there to serve others, which is a good thing, but wasn't balanced with knowing myself very well and knowing my capacities and, saying to the guy, "Hey, come on down here." So So, it was about developing awareness over time. Mm-hmm. And I had dreams after that fall for about 10 years of down climbing. But it was a metaphor for me of coming down to the earth, coming down into my body, coming down into reality, which meant taking into account all the factors in the situation, being more grounded, you might say, coming down to the ground, which I think is a challenge for many of us, born in our generation of high ideals, of I don't know if you've heard of the term puer or puer eternus. It's a Jungian term, kind of meaning eternal youth, which kind of means doesn't want to grow up, a person who doesn't want to grow up. So I was sort of part of that.
Well, I think I still am.
I got it. But it means like balancing reality with ideals.
Yes.
So, which I think is a large task in our journey in this life, how to balance that. Some of us are too much into reality. Some of us are too much into ideals. And it's sort of like when we're too much in reality, we can't get off the ground. We can't have visions. We can't have dreams. We can't think of, how we might live differently. And when we are too much in ideals, our ideals aren't grounded in reality. We don't balance that.
So this was a wake-up call
yes.
where you have discovered. And when you fell, you mentioned that you came to a sudden stop and you were facing outward. And
yes.
you were looking at the mountain range.
Yes.
And you took it in and you said, how beautiful this is, you mentioned.
Yeah, it was like startling. That's all I was aware of in the moment was how beautiful this was. And then this immense sense of gratitude for being alive. For my body, every cell of my body was filled with a sense of gratitude and thankfulness. That I didn't die because, it could have happened quite easily. During the fall, I was very aware of staying upright, and that was sort of to keep myself from tumbling and probably breaking my neck or breaking my back. So that consciousness during the fall, when I was sort of extremely awake, which happens for many people in sort of dire, emergency situations where people are capable of lifting a car off somebody. So I had a lot to be grateful for. Seconds after that, I became aware I was only seeing out of one eye, and then had this feeling of, oh my gosh, what had I done? How I could have killed myself. But realizing that I was probably injured in a way that was probably permanent. But my next thought right after that was, don't think about it. This is not the time. The time right now is to get safely off the mountain. Mm-hmm. We were 23 miles in. And this was in 1979 when people didn't have the kind of phones or radios that could contact somebody else. So I was lucky that 2 people ran out 23 miles that night to get help.
Oh, boy.
So there was a confluence of factors that were helpful at the time. Mm-hmm. Which has made me see since then how often there are that confluence of factors, of auspicious coincidences, that people are there to help us if we just notice that.
What a gift you've been given in the choice of living your life in what you call an upright life.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think we all have to use whatever we've been given to share our lessons in life. And mine was, particularly dramatic, but every day we make choices that are life-giving or death-giving in a sense. Negating or making a choice towards life. And we don't often see it. We don't often see, those little choices that make such a difference every day. The book that I wrote, The Female Buddha, Discovering the Heart of Liberation and Love, it's a series of quotes combined with sort of inspirational images. Mm-hmm. And what I've discovered, the book for me, is a book that I will probably use for inspiration myself for the rest of my life. Mm. I pulled together a post by 54 women teachers. And recently I just decided, I need to memorize these quotes. And whenever I give a talk, I always share a quote or two that I have memorized. And what I've learned from that is you can't memorize a quote unless you go deeply into it. Mm. And today I was thinking about a quote I wanted to share from the book, sort of on the theme we've been talking about. And it's by a woman named Khandro Rinpoche. She's alive. She comes from a tradition in Tibet that's been having women teachers for probably since the 17th century, a strong lineage of women teachers called the Mindroling tradition. And this is what she has to say. Appreciating one's life generates a courageous heart and a courageous mind. And I wanted to share this with you this morning because it's one I've just started to investigate more deeply, and I thought you could help me some with it. I used to have a teacher that would say, appreciate yourself, and I didn't quite know what he meant. Mm-hmm. And I'm just starting to get a glimpse of that, how that generates courage in our life, because what it takes to appreciate ourselves is a tremendous amount of forgiveness for all the, all our folly, all our mistakes, all of our sort of wrong turns. Mm-hmm. But it also takes courage to appreciate our strengths and, what we have learned from our mistakes, are the beautiful visions and dreams we've had. Because I think, sometimes we label those as folly. And when I look back at my climbing fall, I can appreciate here's someone who wanted to serve, even if she didn't know how at the time.
Well, you tell me more about that because your heart was in the right. I mean, your heart, your soul, everything about you is there. your deep it fell with you, and your deep desire to really help was also there, and so it's kind of like awareness or consciousness.
That consciousness was there to serve, but it wasn't integrated at the time with the sort of deeper sort of grounding in the reality of the situation, which did take me years to figure out. Those years of dreaming about down climbing, getting my feet on the ground, standing upright. Go ahead.
No, when you dreamed about down climbing, was this kind of like a dream full of anxiety, or was it a dream of peacefulness, or how did you feel when you?
It was a dream of concentration and focus.
Okay.
Which is something I've really had to develop over the years, because I'm, one of those people who's kind of like a scatterbrain. I was always losing my mittens as a kid. Mm-hmm. I was a dreamer, which was, wonderful, but I had to develop those skills of